Well, welcome to another episode Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Zach.
Yes.
Zach, coming at me with the strong energy.
I'm ready for it, man. I've not going too much into what I do for a living, but it's very customer service driven, and I just had the worst customers today. So it's Friday. I've got some beers. I've got a good friend to meet and make. So let's go. Let's do this.
Dude, I work in the customer service thing too, and sometimes I've just stopped being polite when somebody gives me shit. I start work at 3 a.m., so I get people cussing me out by 5 a.m. There's an issue because you get like people, why is there a charge on my account? I'm like, I don't know. I'm the company. I'm sorry that happened to you. I can't really help you. It's not me that's charging you. I'm not taking the money out of your pocket. Don't give me that. You work for the company. I hate when people and just starts telling, and then it's like you hear the life story. Eventually, she's like, look, I get it, but this is so rude, and I'm like, okay. And she's like, I hope you have a good day. And I was like, okay. And I just hung up the phone and she calls back. You didn't tell me to have a good day. Why in the hell would I even talk to you anymore? I was going to hang up the phone 6 times.
Our transaction is over. Next.
I just look at that like I feel like people have been just not asserting themselves when other people are just being rude. It's like you see the person yelling in the grocery store. You should just have one person call them out on their shit. There's no
100%.
reason
Absolutely.
to be upset over a box of Raisin Bran. I'm sorry. If you're flipping out about a box of Raisin Bran, you might have some issues in your life.
So, dude, I live on a tiny rock in the middle of nowhere called Wales. What is Raisin Bran? Enlighten me with your Western wonders.
Bran flakes, and they add raisins to it. And I ate 2 boxes one time, and I thought I had stomach cancer because WebMD said that's what it was, and I went with it hard.
Oh, no. So, yeah, I can imagine, obviously, being a brand-based cereal, it gives you the poops. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, you can swear.
Fuck yeah.
I can't believe
I can
you
imagine
just
that
swore on my show. How dare you swear on my show?
Fuck you, I'll swear on any show I want.
Assert yourself. That's all we need to be is more assertive and less insertive, if you know what I mean. SpongeBob taught me that.
Who inserted SpongeBob in you?
I don't know. I just turned on the TV when I was a kid, and it was either that or watching like porn. And I figured, it's a little bit too much for me at this age. Might as well just dive into SpongeBob.
Yeah, I'm a massive advocate of holding on to childhood loves. As you can see, like the room I'm in, I've got like an Indiana Jones.
I'm just seeing Indiana Jones point a gun at your head, the statue.
Got a Ghostbusters painting. I am very much, this is my silly little boy cave. My fiance has the rest of the house, but I've got like all my guitars and my podcasting stuff and my comic books, and I just get to sit in here and ignore the rest of the world, thanks to customers. Customers being the main gripe of the day.
People talk about like, I need a day for myself. I'm like, you wouldn't need to if people were just not so much of like jerks. It's like even when you go on social media, it's like it's gone into the real world. Before it was like you could hide behind a screen, say whatever you want. Now people are just saying stuff and not really realizing their actions because they're like, you're an employee, so I can assert myself. It's like, hang on a minute, I will still take this Walmart jacket off and beat the living hell out of you.
Tie it around your head like Rambo and just go fucking nuts, man.
I mean, you get to see it like in a movie where it's like, God, it's got to feel so good. And then you just want to do it yourself. And just don't take life too seriously. If you start complaining or yelling that somebody doesn't put the cart back. Like I watched a woman earbeat a like young kid about the cart pushing, that there was just carts all over the place and he was trying his hardest. It was a hot day. And I'm like, man, really? And the kid just goes, go fuck yourself. I'm like, bravo. Bravo. If she goes to your supervisor, I will stand up for you.
I absolutely had one of those moments in a previous job. I was working in the nightclub industry as like a glass collector, general cleaner kind of position.
Stripper.
So, you're one of the lucky people, one of the majority of lucky people who are unaware of Wind Street in Swansea. Now, Swansea is where I'm from, Swansea in Wales. And we have this one street called Wind Street. And that's where all the bars are. And that's where all the nonsense happens. It's actually like considered one of the most dangerous places to go drinking in the UK.
If they
It is
called it Sober Alley, that would be so ironic.
But at the time, I worked on one of the busiest bars there, generally just cleaning up after pissed shitheads who were doing coke and sexually harassing each other. And me, a mild-mannered comic book loving metalhead who had absolutely no business listening to Usher that loud at that time in the morning, had to deal with all their shit. And then one day they had an industry night. So all of my colleagues get to go out drinking with other bar people from Wine Street and build an industry community. And Muggins over here gets fucking roped in to work it. So not only now am I cleaning up after dickheads, I'm cleaning up after dickheads I work with. And one girl got carried out by bouncers while having diarrhea, left a lovely trail just from like where she was sat to the door. And my manager goes, get a mop. And I was like, get fucked. No. Just left. And then I didn't work there anymore.
Good on you. Good on you.
I'm sorry, but like enough was enough at that stage. Like I am not a person who enjoys going out drinking. Like I want to drink in my little cave. That's way more fun. I've got my things here. But to fucking have the audacity to jokingly be like, clean up that literal trail of human feces for minimum wage. And I'm sorry, I'm not doing that.
I try and keep in the perspective, like people always talk about, like, oh, be happy you got this job and you're not doing porn or something. I'm like, I'd rather be making money getting naked than being the person that has to clean up after the person that's making money getting naked.
Dude, I've been trying to figure out for years how to make money being naked. I just get in trouble.
You just go on OnlyFans. I mean, you might get arrested a couple of times, but there's someone out there that everybody's into something. There's a legit whole segment on people stomping on other people's balls with high heels. Let me tell you something. It is the most painful thing to watch, but the dude likes it and the girl likes it. So,
as it says in the Satanic Bible, do what you want as long as everyone's adult, everyone's consenting, and the only pain being inflicted is agreed upon, essentially. Fucking let people do what they want, live their lives, as long as I say everyone's who's involved is okay with doing it and no one's being exploited, then fuck yeah, kick each other in the balls for all I care.
Just let people do what they want. It's so easy. Like there's a whole movement of like, I think it's wrong. We should tear down the porn industry. It's like, but that's how people make their lives. If you're hot, I literally at my work, there was a woman that came in, and I work at a gym, and you could tell she's lived her whole life off her looks. I mean, she's like in her 40s. So it's like, she's got to get a trainer to try and stay in tune, so she can keep it going, but you could tell it's fading a little bit. And she goes, can I get a scoop of that stuff right there? And can I get some of that with some ice? And I'm like, you want milk and protein powder? And she's like, yeah, that stuff, the stuff with the red cap. And I'm like, milk, yes, milk. That's what that is. And you could just tell, it's like, wow. But then you find out she just married into wealth, and like her husband is just like this really leveled out dude, like cool as shit. And you're like, wow, man, like you notice, like, does it ever get hard sometimes living with that? He goes, but do you see how she looks? I'm like, yeah, but like, man, he needs some basic functions besides breathing.
Totally. There's an amazing example of that. Did you ever watch the sitcom 30 Rock?
No.
So there's a story in one of the later seasons where Tina Fey's character meets John Hamm. Like John Hamm plays a character in it, and obviously he is a fucking gorgeous man. But it's that thing of like the world exists to serve him because of how good looking he is. And like he has absolutely no skill. And like he's a doctor without like any training. Like people will just walk up and be like, oh, by the way, I'm Calvin Klein. Here's my number. Let's do a shoot. And like they really satirize that idea so well. But it's great to know that actually exists in the world. That there are people so good looking that life just hands them everything. Like I'm kind of good looking. I'm nothing special to look at, but life just hands me shit sandwiches.
They literally say with enough confidence you can achieve anything. I feel like I could just walk into a doctor's office, be like, I'll do it, because I've heard so many doctors goes, well, when we get something wrong, we are practicing. It's why we are doctors. I'm like, it's not what that's supposed to be. It's supposed to be your practice, such as like, this is what you work in, not that you're still practicing like it's fucking soccer, little league, and you're trying to figure out how to kick a ball into a goal. You should have a perfect degree to know this answer, but they're people and they're just wearing a coat. So why can't I do the same damn thing?
Okay, if you could walk into any job whatsoever, then just balls out confidence, like I am the king of this now. What job would it be?
I would be a police officer.
Mm.
And that wouldn't be a lot of options people would pick today. But I'm telling you, I would do it because I would be the coolest cop in the world. Is that cocaine? How much is it? How much did you buy for it? You got ripped off. And just move along. You got to pick your battles. You got to. I mean, you see a kid spray painting graffiti, look at it in a different light. He's an artist, and he's trying to perfect his craft on the side of this guy's building.
Absolutely. I had to have interaction with the police when there was basically a car got stolen off my drive when I was a teenager. And just chatting with like this one police officer who was showing me like a photo fit on a computer, and we got chatting, and it turns out like we liked a lot of the same music, and like he was a cool guy. But how much of it, as you say, like pick your battles, how much of it though is it the cop's choice to ignore a crime, or is it that the fucking higher up's going to be breathing down his neck, so he has to hit so many quotas of arrests? Maybe
Bebop. But
Bebop.
But,
you thought I was going to miss that.
I did. I was so I actually had one really cool cop interaction. I got almost got a ticket for going 55 and like a 65. I was going 10 miles under, which is like, what? Why are you going 10 miles under? Because I had seen Final Destination 2, and I swear to you, I was behind a logging truck, so I actually slowed down.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the cop, he was like, "Why are you going so slow? Like, I don't want to give you a ticket here, but it's dangerous to other vehicles that you're going so slow." I was like, "Did you see what was in front of me?" And he goes, "What was it?" I was like, "It was a logging truck, and I've seen Final Destination 2, like a joke." And he goes, understand. We actually, that's something that actually happens a lot. A lot of people like, because I mean, we do live out in like this sort of part of town is kind of it's beach town mostly, but if you go like 30 minutes out of the way, it's all like country. So you see logging trucks all the time. So people are just, everyone's seen the fucking movie. I don't go on roller coasters because of Final Destination. There's no way in hell I'm getting a log right through my freaking head with the and the freaking truck sliding across the road.
What's your favorite Final Destination kill?
That is a really freaking good question. One that has scared me from basically ever doing this in my entire life, and that's the tanning salon one where the girl gets in the tanning booth. I'll never get into that. No.
Yes, absolutely. That's my answer.
And the escalator where the woman at the ending of like the race car one gets sucked into the escalator thing.
So that's probably the one I've seen the least amount of times, to be fair. Because like, regardless of the decline in quality, I do love the Final Destination.
You should
films,
only watch them once. They're just a way to let you know how. It's like watching 1,000 Ways to Die. What you should not do.
Should get Ron Perlman to narrate the Final Destination films.
Oh my God! I tell you, the newest one they had, where they had the dude that who played in Get Smart. He has the bald head up in the middle, has hair on the sides.
Not sure.
The one where they're on a bus on a bridge.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay.
He played the coach, and then when it's like the beginning scene where it's like they predict everybody's death, and the dude's like trying to pull himself up off the bridge, and that thing of hot tar comes and lands on top of him.
Yes.
Yo, that was nuts, dude.
I
watched that movie at such a young age where it's like you start looking at life a little bit differently, realizing you're that much closer to death.
So, are you a horror film guy?
Yeah, pretty into horror. I like The Happening, even though people shit on that movie 24/7.
So, like, I was raised on horror. Like, my mum, not for some reason, because horror films are fucking cool, but like, as soon as I was like 8 or something, she was like, "You've seen The Exorcist, right?" Like, I was literally introduced to, like, all the classics in the early age. Like, be our weekend family activity watching horror films. So, like, the Final Destinations, I remember watching those as a little kid and just being like, these are awesome. Like, the one, I think it's either 1 or 2, when the guy slips in the shower and the cord wraps around his neck, but with the force of the cord tightening and his body dropping.
That was one.
All of the blood vessels burst in his eyes. That fucking terrified me as a child. That was just the realism, like the thought, like someone thought putting that scene together, going, "Oh yeah, no, all the blood vessels will go in his eyes," and like, Fucked up.
The second one scared me the most was when the girl got into the car accident and then she had that metal pipe that almost went through the back of her head, and she's sitting there smoking a cigarette and the dude hits the airbag in the front and the thing freaking explodes and nails her head right into the metal pole.
Yes.
I was
Oh,
like, damn, you were so close to freaking making it. And like each time you're praying that these people live and they never do.
wasn't it once again either the first or second one about almost making it when the girl goes, "What? Like I'm just gonna walk out in the street and get hit by it, and like a bus just takes her out."
That's the second one. That's the second one too.
God
That's
damn,
the
this is a good
second
film.
one.
I think I might spend my night watching the Final Destination films.
Honestly, you're convincing me to do so. I feel like if you could live in a horror movie, which one would you prefer to live in versus which one would you hate to live in?
So, okay, that's a fucking amazing question. I would like to live in the the Friday the 13th universe because it's only sexy teenagers who get killed. And I'm a kind of fugly man in his 30s. Like, I am A-okay. Jason ain't coming for me. But the one, like, the worst to live in?
Saw.
Hmm.
Saw.
Yeah, I have a lot of vices that could be exploited into horrible traps.
Even like you're going to die anyway. I'm just like, I just rather it just happen. Like, oh, toxic gas coming in the room comparing to having to chop my foot off and then play hopscotch to get the key. I'm sorry. I'm not seeing fun in that at all. I'd rather just sit here and wait for the inevitable doom. It seems like this is a lose or lose scenario.
Okay, so would you now, like, both examples, both hypotheticals, would you prefer, say, a Saw situation in which it's gritty and it's realistic and it's some other person who's put you in this position in which, like, your skin is going to get ripped off, or a theatrical, like, pinhead Cenobite like demon kind of coming at you with this big spiel about suffering, but obviously your skin does still get ripped off at the end? Which way would you like to go?
I don't want to
Cenobite or
play this
Saw?
game. This is a terrible
Welcome back
choice
to
of options.
Cenobite or Saw.
Welcome to Would You Rather. Explode an M80 in your hand or take a piece of glass to your eye. These are terrible scenarios I don't want to live in. I rather would play like, would you rather punch Mike Tyson or would you rather punch, who would be a good match for Mike Tyson? Punch Mel Gibson, because Mel Gibson won't stop when the bell rings.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to. Well, no, I do want to speak ill of Mel Gibson. I think he's past his prime.
You can't knock Signs though, dude. That's an amazing, scary movie.
I'm not saying he hasn't put in good performances, but like the dude's real life antics definitely outweigh his on-screen antics.
What do you mean, real life antics? He did nothing wrong. I haven't heard any scandalous news about Mel Gibson.
I don't know if you're pulling my leg. Do you not remember when he got pulled over?
I'm pulling your leg hard, Bebop.
Thank God. Like, I was like, I don't know your situation. You might live in a bunker. You might only get limited blips of signal you use to record your podcast. But yeah, good. I'm glad you know.
What I like to do in my free time when I'm not recording is I like to be Amish, and I just like to churn butter all day. I feel like that's a simple lifestyle. And this scared me the most about when the pandemic hit was like, did anybody tell the Amish? Because they had it figured out before anybody. And if you were a germaphobe before, like, you're fucked now. Like, Howie Mandel had it figured out. He's over there germexing his hands for the 500th time. Like, I knew it. I freaking knew it. You guys don't even know right now.
So this is the thing. They're in the UK at the moment, especially in Wales. We're starting to see a rise now. Like, it's going to be a second wave. We're going to go back, I reckon, into a full lockdown. I went shopping recently with my partner just before lockdown to contextualize it. Not only did we move into our first house that we bought together, but she got hit by a car and broke her leg. Pretty crazy start to lockdown. So it's only recently we're getting out and being able to do things. And we went to a big shopping center, like next to us. Like, it's probably a 5-minute walk to the local like stadium, and there's a shopping center. So we walk down and we get there and we've got hand sanitizer, we've got masks on, and people are looking at us dull. There's no social distancing. There's hundreds of people just bumping and coughing on each other as far as the eye can see. and we get dull looks for wearing masks. And I'm like, have you never seen a Jason Voorhees and a Babies R Us before? You need to grow the
You're
fuck
really
up.
scared of Jason, aren't you? I feel like
I love Jason.
I feel like if I was going to choose between him, Freddy Krueger, or Mike Myers, I'd be more afraid of Jason. I don't like the killing me in my dreams factor, and I don't like that he can't die. I don't like any of those factors. I feel like there should be a win that I should have. It's like setting yourself up to fail. It's not very accomplishing anything.
I don't like those, but for entirely different reasons. As in, I don't like the Nightmare on Elm Street films.
Really?
I don't rate Freddy as a. It's. I understand the appeal and I see why it's so big, but it's at the end of the day, it's just him saying "bitch." You know when they did Scary Terry on Rick and Morty?
Yeah,
He
I
fucking
literally.
nailed Freddy
I'm gonna
Krueger.
have to tag my buddy who does a whole horror podcast called A Podcast on Elm Street, and he's gonna be so pissed.
Oh, get me on! Absolutely, let's do this.
Man, I mean, there's one villain out there, I would have to say, one super monster movie that I saw, which was like all these kids crash their bus off a ravine, and every Halloween they come out and just murder people. And it was like they all dressed up in like little kids' costumes. They were all in like some Halloween party type thing on Halloween night or whatever. This bus driver just got pissed and just drove off into a ravine, and all these little kids kept killing everybody. And I was like, that would suck. Would it
Is
be
there
worse?
a mine like a mine elevator?
Yes.
Trick or treat. Yeah, it's like
Bro. What? You know they're canceling Halloween this year?
Oh, what? My
Yeah.
birthday's the day before Halloween. Another reason why I'm such a big horror fan.
They're
So like, there's no
canceling
going to be
Halloween.
no like actual trick or treating.
No, there's going to be no trick or treating because social distancing and all that. And I'm like, this is what's going to hurt people, and this is what's going to create people that are going to shoot other people in a grocery store. Is this mental type of scarring that you have?
Well, I hope you don't, take offense to this generalization, but Americans love shooting. Social distance trick or treat. You get a paintball gun, fill it full of gobstoppers, and kids have to stand at the end of the drive, and you just take pot shots trying to shoot sweets into their mouth.
Until the guy who's shooting the gun decides to try and pop one in his mouth as like a quick eat, and next thing you know, he blows his brain out.
Yep. Well, it happens. You know, these are the sacrifices you have to make if you want to maintain Halloween.
Man, does that mean they're going to social distance? You can't even sit on Santa's lap anymore.
I can't sit on Santa's lap for entirely different reasons.
You can do whatever you want. You're a grown-ass man.
This is one of the reasons they're not fond of me sitting on Santa's lap.
You know, this is supposed to be for kids. It's like, shut up, Santa. You're going to hear me talk. Let me tell you, I had a rough day today. I'm going to tell you everything I want, and you're going to grant it to me.
Here's my list of demands. I want a helicopter, a hand job, and a sandwich. Let's go.
You know who you remind me of?
Who?
The guy from Game Over, the main dude.
Game Over?
The villain, the one that gets in the chopper, the British guy, and ends up running the whole thing. It's the guy from Workaholics. They have a show on Netflix or a movie on Netflix.
Oh, shit, yes. Okay.
You're 100% that dude.
Well, I'm just going to call back an earlier, maybe multiple earlier episodes, but you're Spider-Man. Oh, the change in face then, if anything, made you look more like Tom. Please, are you actually Tom Holland?
No, I'll be Tobey Maguire. Even I'll take Andrew Garfield's hated ass to be over fucking Tom Holland.
I don't think Andrew Garfield was really the problem in those films. I think those films were the problem.
Nah, they had good angles. I like seeing like the first person perspective of Spider-Man. I think that's pretty cool. They should have like a hardcore Henry of Spider-Man. That would have been sick.
That would be fucking cool. I would be 100% into that.
When in the installation of the Neuralink are we going to get to a point where you just put yourself in the movie?
So you put yourself into the movie. Do you then have no autonomy? Do you have, say, maybe like a Mass Effect story tree kind of autonomy, or do you have free autonomy and you just live the movie? Where do you think do you think it's going to start at no autonomy and get all the way to it just being a livable simulation?
It should just have like you're a spectator, because I feel like if you had free autonomy, how many people would just go and bang like what's Spider-Man's aunt's name?
Oh, Marissa Tomei.
Oh, what's the character's name? Aunt May?
Oh, Aunt May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People would just go to there and
like
bang.
You don't know your aunt's name.
You're gonna bang freaking Tom Holland's aunt in the Neuralink simulator. That's all you're gonna do throughout the whole Spider-Man movie. 2 hours later, it's over with. You wined her and dined her, but you don't get to the ending because the movie's over. Then you have to restart the whole process over again.
Slinging an entirely different strain of web.
Uncle Ben's rice, mixing it up.
So we were talking horror. Sorry, before I rudely interrupted you.
What about horror? What was the worst one to live in? I would say Jaws.
Yeah, but I mean, actually, no, because as you say, you live in a coastal town.
Yeah.
I live in a coastal town as well. Yeah, okay. Jaws is a good thing.
I love Jaws, but the fact of I just dying by a shark. Or Meg. Wow, if you see that, that's a real I don't ever want to understand what's at the bottom of the ocean ever. I'm fine. There's probably a kraken or some giant ass shark down there.
Absolutely. Marinara Trench. Mariana Trench. I always call it the Marinara Trench.
Marinara Trench sounds like a messed up spaghetti item on an Italian restaurant's menu.
It's just an unlimited fucking meatball sub. But no, the Mariana Trench is hands down the most terrifying thing. I think we should be more scared of what's in the Mariana Trench than we are of in space.
Look,
because that's on our planet. Space, they could be coming for millennia to get to us. Like the Mariana Trench is on our planet, and we don't know what's down there. It could be a Jason Statham fighting Megalodon. It could be Cthulhu. It could be nothing for all we know. But still, goddamn, research the ocean.
They discovered there's a Netflix documentary called Dino Fish, and it was a fish that is over 600 million years old or something ridiculous, 60 million, I think, maybe 600 million. Sounds like 600 million, but the Dino Fish, it's just this fish they thought was the age of the dinosaurs. They thought was extinct, but we just found out about it. I think a few years ago because of the fact of people were dynamite fishing, and they literally hit so deep that it had actually hit where they were staying at and killed some of them, and then people were selling them in a market. And the guy's like, this fish has been extinct for millions of years. And they're like,
oh, right, they found I say they found living examples. They found blown up recently living example. Wow.
They were wondering because it turns out with the no tell of sunlight and the days passing, what we clarify as time, the lower the pressure, I guess, at the bottom of the ocean makes time seem irrelevant. So it moves so slow. So things age slow too. So it's holy shit. There could be some giant dinosaurs down there living.
100%. I think if there's going to be any type of giant, spectacular sci-fi scenario, it's going to come from our ocean rather than outer space.
Honestly, if this is the end of the world right now, this is better than Cabin in the Woods type ending where just a giant hand comes out of the earth and starts breaking shit.
Well, when I was a wreckhead teenager, because where we live in Swansea, we've got this giant coastline. It's a couple of miles of just one single uninterrupted beach. And it kind of curves round in a horseshoe. And I used to love getting wrecked with my mates as a teenager down the beach because no one would disturb you. But I remember just sitting there, absolutely wrecked, looking out to sea and trying to comprehend just what a kaiju would look like in scale. If you're looking...
Perfect. That's the best thing we can do next is start build Japan just built a giant ass robot, and the first thing it did was flick somebody off. So I was like, why don't we start building robots like this and just have battles, fights? That's what ended up. Pacific Rim 2 was an amazing movie. That's what the second one was, and then the kaiju incident from the first one. But is it going to get to that point? People talk about they released that UFOs and aliens are real. Okay. That was a big thing in September. Everybody was chasing after it. They tell us it's real. We're not paying attention because everything else that's going on in the world. So let's get to the point where we build giant robots and just, nobody's going to commit a crime if you're in a giant robot. Can you imagine that? Or personal robots, the size of your car, where people just walk around in these Transformers type things.
So, very good point. I was going to say, do you not think it would maybe turn out a bit RoboCop 2, when they bring in the new type of policing robot and it murders everyone? But then again, I think the idea of what they thought technology would be capable of doing is far surpassed in what we would probably actually be able to pull off with technology.
It's better than I feel at some point in our society, we shifted from wanting to create robots to do everything for us to now planting it into ourselves so we would have control and never have to worry about Skynet ever happening. But then I'm like, wait a minute, someone can just hack your brain. Like, it's going to get to the point where it turns into that Bruce Willis movie where like everybody's in the simulated body of themselves living out in the real world or something. And then you get shot with a gun that blows your circuits in real life. And next thing you know, your brain's fried.
Did you see Upgrade?
I have not seen Upgrade.
Quite a recent film. I think it might be a Blumhouse film, but it's more like an action than a horror. And basically, like a guy and his partner get jumped, she gets killed, he gets basically paralyzed from the neck down. And like a tech company are like, we have this chip that we can implant into your spinal column and it will give you free range of your body. But it like talks to him. He doesn't react. Like, it's not only has he got like this kind of second voice in his head, but he's in a fight scene. He's getting his ass kicked. And he was like, if you need me to take over, tell me to take over. And he's like, okay. And all of a sudden, like basically, obviously this computer has control and he like kicks these 6 guys' ass. But like the way the guy acted is brilliant because he's doing these fights, but he has to portray in his face that he's scared and he doesn't know what's going on. Because so he's like doing these kick-ass fights and looking terrified the entire time. It's genuinely worth checking out. It's a good film.
I just feel like if you're body enhancing yourself, unless it's like for an actual legit reason, like I don't think you should be like, well, you know what would be cool if I chopped off my arm and put it on like a robot arm? It's like, no, why? If you don't have an arm, it makes sense to do that. But it's like, you don't want, like, that's just upgrading yourself. Like, how many people are going to overclock themselves? Like, it's just not,
Yeah.
it's the dumbest thing in the world. The Neuralink scares the hell out of me. It's like we could have went anywhere in society. Could have done anything. Put that money towards maybe a cancer foundation or a charity of your choice. Pick one that's like not known, like kids with blue eyes that are blind. Blue eyes
Blind.
and blind. Like there's a charity out there that could need a benefit like that. But instead we're like, oh, we're going to put this into your brain so you can have the internet in your head. I'm like, why do we need that? I don't understand. Like, you can't just pick up a book. Well, the guy's blind. He can't read it. It's like, you got other things.
Okay, so to battle overclocking, the powers that be, the Illuminati, when they finally announced their existence,
Dude, it's happening. That's happening.
So they tell us we have the means to cybernetically enhance you, but to keep it fair, each person gets one, but only one. What do you cybernetically enhance about yourself? I need to write that down, actually. That's a great idea for a script. If you see this film happen in the future, that's me.
Well, hang on a second. If I say my hand, is it just my hand or is it both my hands?
One hand.
I'm going to have to overclock or cybernetically enhance. I'm afraid that to go this far, but I'll have to say my eye.
Okay. What features do you have in the eye? Explain the
laser eye. I would be Superman with that shit. Just one laser. I don't even care.
Just running around cyclopsing people.
Just freaking like staring at someone hard enough. You know how like there's that show, that movie Accepted, where the kid can blow stuff up with his mind?
No, I don't think I've seen it.
Dude, that is a funny ass movie. The kid's like, I want to learn to, he goes to like this fake college. I want to learn to blow shit up with my mind. And at the ending of the movie, he like looks at a card and the thing explodes. And the guy's like, holy shit. He's like, I told you.
Ah, nice. I'll check that out.
What's a superpower you would hate to have?
A superpower I would hate to have would be flying, because it would be so convenient, but I can't get up a ladder without my knees going, my hands getting sweaty.
Imagine if you could only fly.
How scared I would be.
Imagine if you could only fly if you're inside.
That would suit me down to the ground, because I know I'm not going to be too high. The fall won't be catastrophic.
It's like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory or Willy Wonka when you're floating up to the ceiling.
But I mean, flying as a superpower absolutely goes hand in hand with at least invulnerability. Because if you are, flying at, say, Superman speeds, the human body is going to degrade. Like, there's no way your eardrums and your eyes and, like, the moist withstand the human body moving at that pace. So you can't, I say, just have the power of flight. You'd have to have invulnerability to go with it.
people always talk about like, I would love to be invisible. I'm like, technically to everyone in the world, you are invisible. Like it's the whole factor of like, it's not to be mean, but it's a factor of like, we don't give a shit about people. We hardly notice people anymore. It's like, we're so in our own heads. We don't even really realize. It's like, the worst power to be right now would be like, honestly, that's not even a concern anymore, is reading somebody else's mind, because everybody's just telling you what they think anyway. Like, even if you want it or not. I'm like, honestly, what would be like a crazy, insane power that would actually be fun to have? Super strength, and then you're getting accused of taking steroids. I don't understand what the change here is.
I'd like the power to, as you so rightly pointed out, I'd like the power to not be able to read people's minds. I'd like to be just switch off from it.
Just be able to mute people like Bruce Almighty. Just snap your fingers and someone stops talking, no sound comes out.
I'm sure you may find the same as a podcaster. It's hard not to live on social media. Like the other two boys on Fried Penguin News are, I assume Reece is older than me. I've never actually asked, but Simon's in his 60s. So it's hard to get them active on. So me being the young buck, I have to do all the social media, and I fucking hate it. I'd rather just live a quiet life. But if I want people to listen to my shit, I've got to get on Instagram.
Well, you think society progressed from like the common guy selling strawberries on the freeway to now anything you do that wants to get anywhere in this world has to be put through social media, and then everything's a fucking payment. Like, it's the main reason why I hate like when like everything's just a bill, like podcasts, like we have a Patreon, it's $15. I get it if you're trying to make a little dough, but like so much in this world is already payments. I'm like, I feel like we're just paying the price to live, and it's too much already.
It's worrying. You know, I miss the days of waiting 5 minutes for the internet to load up and living on borrowed time, because you knew if your nan phoned at any moment, the internet connection would drop, man.
Yeah.
Dial-up was the tits.
Like,
you had internet, you had access, but only on other people's terms. You couldn't just like live with a high-tech computer in the palm of your hand at all times.
Plus the news too. Like, I feel like everyone's talking about like the world's becoming so paranoid. It's like, this stuff has always been happening. We're just now being keen to it because social media has put everything on blast. First of all, I think there's definitely an Illuminati thing going on that's going to show himself soon. But then I feel like every time you see the world that's about to push to this new era of change, there's just a random like time, like a month or so, where everything calms down, and then it all starts ramping back up again. I'm like, you guys got right to the goal and you stopped. And then we went all the way back again. I'm like, hang on a second, keep going forward, because something you're about to expose. There's definitely an Illuminati. I think it's the Freemasons, that thing they talk about, like, oh, that's just a group of like people that get together. That's a thing in my town, is still Freemasons, people that drive with the symbol on their truck. Back in the day, that was a cult. That was things that was really, really dark, and now it's become this fraternity type thing, and it's all dumbed down. But it's like the Edinburgh, the Grove, the
Bohemian Grove?
Yes, the Bohemian Grove, for instance. That they burn a pile of wood sticks in the shape of a body. How long was that a pile of sticks? When was it a person? They had to have it a person at one point. Like, that's a real life cult thing nobody questions. Like, it's all there, but nobody wants to pay attention to it because we're too worried about who put something up on Instagram or Facebook, or someone's talking shit, or Jersey Shore's on. It's like, Jesus.
Well, dude, I live in Wales, which is a very, very small part of the UK, and I live in a very small part of Wales. But we have a Freemason building in our town centre. It's off one of the streets. And like, fun fact, me and my band had our first ever band photo after a gig across the road, where we were steaming. We all got topless and did muscle man poses on the steps of the Freemason building.
I'm telling you, can we just me and you just start like a wonderful cult for people? Like, do whatever you want, be who you want to be, don't hurt anybody, and just have fun. And we have bowling nights.
That dude honestly sounds like Satanism with bowling.
That's what I'm saying. Well, we don't have to sacrifice. I feel like
that's a common misconception, though. There's absolutely
there's a whole thing on it. The blood of a chicken.
In the Satanic Bible itself, the Anton LaVey Satanic Bible, it says that blood sacrifice is supposed to release the energy of the body. That's why the blood is spilled, because it symbolizes the body energy being released. And he says in his own words, like, well, if you want to release body energy, have a wank, do wank magic. Like, it'll have the same effect. Like, the actual, like, LaVey Church of Satan definitely espouses sacrifice. I'm not saying there hasn't been sacrifices in the name of Satan. Obviously there have, but I don't think it's like one of the main selling points that the media made it out to be.
I don't know if it's an actual product, but there's a thing called an Anti-Masturbation Cross, and it's like a thing that your kid lays down on like this mat that's in the shape of a cross, and the way that you basically pinned up like Jesus, like they tie your arms down, it's supposed to stop your little toddler from touching himself. I don't know if that's a real product, but I saw a picture of it. I'm like, oh my God, like
that is fucking. I hope that isn't true. Basically, crucify your child so they can't touch them. Well, yeah, let's not talk about children touching themselves. This conversation has got weird. See, you bring the church into it, you're instantly talking about touching children. People, the conspiracy is there.
I love it how we're now freaking out about it. Like this has been a problem for so long, but now it's just starting to be like, they're actually doing that. It's like, did you think the stereotype was, it just came out of nowhere? Like some person was like, hey, it'd be funny if we said the church touches kids. No, it's been around for a very long time.
Are you telling me we are not currently breaking the story of pedophilia in the church?
I cannot confirm or deny that.
Then why the hell did you bring me on this podcast? You knew that. I told you in the initial email you sent me, I was like, look, I'm going to talk about pedophilia in the church, but I'm probably going to talk about horror films for a long time beforehand. You knew this was coming.
All right. So if I had to ask you, it's a good question too. Good question. Pick a moment in history you would want to know the truth about. I feel like everything we learn about now, it starts to come out later that it's actually because of this or because of that. I would love to figure out, like, I don't know, something crazy insane. Like people always talk about, like, for instance, I started reading a lot of Native American books and doing a little bit like listening to a lot of documentaries. People always complain about, like, oh, they killed the Native Americans. They weren't that nice of people. They ate each other. They killed each other. They did a bunch of stuff that was like really, really, really sick. I mean, it comes from an uneducated point of view, but like, I would love to find out, like, did Paul Revere at any time during his ride have to stop for a shit break or a piss break? Like he's riding through town screaming, oh, this is going to be offensive to you. I didn't realize the British are coming. At any point, did he have to like pull over to take a piss?
Hey, dude, I have absolutely no pride in being British. You don't have to worry about offending me. It just so happens to be where I was born. That's how I see nationality. I'm not like a fucking Wales. No, no time for that. As I see, and this is going to sound like the most millennial thing I've said, national pride is just a stepping stone to hating other people for where they're from.
Dude, it's just like when two Americans get together, they can talk trash in America all they want. But then it becomes like this loyalty mentality where, like, if someone from another country starts talking trash, you immediately get defensive of your country, which is a good and a bad thing. But it's like, oh my, like, there are literally podcasts out there that just talk trash on other people's homes and other people's like creative endeavors. Like there's podcasts that literally talk trash on podcasts, like the Joe Rogan Experience. They'll be like the Joe Togan Experience, or they'll be like Bert Kreischer's podcast, like, can't listen to a guy complain even more. It's like, why would you do a whole episode just crapping on something somebody created? Makes no sense to me.
I think that's just whoever makes those shows being a bitter person. Like, I don't know, I've not heard the shows, but from the description, it sounds like they've got, those people who've got nothing better to do than just shit on other people's work.
I'm like, that's why, like, when I came across your show, Fried Penguin News, I'm like, this is perfect. What does fried penguin taste like, and how did he come to that conclusion?
That's the power of improv. Fried Penguin literally came from the first sketch me and Reece ever improvised together. And it was just a throwaway thing about, like, I can't remember where it was, but like the idea of the Scandinavian people getting defensive about other people talking about them eating fried penguin. And that's where the news came from. And basically, as I say, the whole show, what I love about it, like, I've done podcasts in the past where I've had an agenda. I wanted to, interview people to get further in the local comedy scene. For example, like I did a podcast for a while where I was interviewing local comedians, hopefully that they would just book me so I can do their stand-up night. But Fried Penguin News is in and of itself 3 grown men playing. We just, once a week, will meet up and drink beers and just be as silly as we can. And it's so cleansing for the soul. It's unfucking-believable.
I can tell you right now, I have had plenty of stand-up comedians on, and from besides the really famous ones, with people that call themselves a comedian or stand-up, I wonder how they are funny. Because it seems like a lot of it's just complaining and cancel culture type things where I'm like, I've met people that are twice as funny as you that are not even close to be calling themselves a comedian. I'm like, it's just a title. It's like walking into a doctor's office and putting on a lab coat. You just say it and then people start believing it. And with social media, you can create a whole fucking profile. You know, I mean, come on now. You can call yourself Ron
100%.
Jeremy.
There's people who, as I say, are working comedians, but like, I've seen it before, and I'm sure anyone who is on a local level comedy scene have seen that guy who's done 2 open mics and he's instantly got a Facebook page like Kenneth Jenkins, stand-up comedian. And it's like, dude, come on. Like,
If you could talk to one person in the world, who would it be?
if I could talk to one person in the world, who would it be? I'm going to get really deep for a second and say my mum, because I lost her when I was 17. And I was a weird little wreckhead kid, and I'd like to see what her opinion was now on me as an adult. Like for example, my fiance never got to meet her, and I'd love to see how those two would interact. And I bet you weren't thinking that you're going to get that heavy of an answer.
No, I was going to toss out Christopher Walken. You tossed out that and made me feel like an asshole. And I really got to think of my new answer.
No, not at all, man. As I say, no judgments here. Who would you speak to?
OJ.
OJ, the inventor of orange juice, or OJ Simpson?
OJ Simpson.
Why? What would you like?
Did you do it? Did you do it?
Conversation?
It's that simple. Did you
Yes,
do it?
but how many people have asked him that question?
That's what I'm saying. I want the damn truth. Like, he can't lie to me.
Okay, so that's the caveat, is that he will give you the absolute truth.
I'm hoping.
See, yeah, I don't think he was. I don't think he will, rather.
Okay, then I'll change my answer to, if I could speak to one person, I would speak to Adam West.
That would be a great conversation, just to hear his voice alone. That guy had an amazing voice.
I think of him from the comedy from like Family Guy, where he gets hit in the face with like a hammer, and then he's like bleeding from his nose, and he's like, "Huh, I'm a tomato," and I'm just like, "Thank God."
And he's got that like light bright thing, and he's like, "Adam Wee? That's not my name."
Adam West. You know, they replaced him now. It's going to be Sam Elliott on Family Guy as the new town mayor.
I can't remember the last time I watched Family Guy. When I was younger, like I watched a load of that in South Park, but look, I can't say I've watched either of those shows in probably about at least 7 years.
It's all devolved down into Netflix. I feel like as you get older, you just want to continue watching some binge series show. I still haven't seen Game of Thrones. I don't plan to.
I don't binge, and it's not for like some cool fucking hipster stance. I genuinely lose interest. That's why I'm really excited that like the new series of The Boys is out, and it's weekly. Like, I've got to wait. Like, genuinely, I'm excited for the next episode. I can't just sit down and watch the whole second series in one thing and be like, oh, well, now I've got to wait another 6 months for the next one. So, like, as I say, with Breaking Bad, for example, it took me probably a good few years to finally get through it, because I get really antsy. If I'm, like, binge watching a series, say I'm like, I've been out on the Saturday, I'm kind of hungover, me and the missus are just watching some shows, I'll get really antsy by the third episode, and I'll want to go play guitar, or I'll want to go do some podcast editing, or just fill my time. And I think that's why I watch so many films, is because I can watch something for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, but it's a contained story and it's done. So you get the satisfaction, and I've still got the rest of the day then to busy my hands, as they say.
So I got a good question. They say afterlife is depending on where you go, is depending on the action that you have in life. It'll be heaven if you have an adventurous life, because you get to binge watch all those moments that you had in your life, or it'll be hell if you just sat and played video games all day and you have to binge watch yourself playing video games all day long.
So I'm not a video game kind of guy, but I think it'd be interesting to rewatch my life just for like all the fucking riffs I've written on the guitar throughout the years that I've been like, that's going to be a song. The band's going to play that. And they've just fallen to the wayside. I think.
No, it's like watching a movie. It doesn't hold up. You're going to go back and be like, wow, that was garbage.
Fucking 99% of them are. That's why they don't ever turn into anything. But I would love a catalog of like when I was like 16 and I thought I was fucking Slash being like listening to like the shit I was playing and how bad I was. I think that'd be really interesting.
I remember I got really stoned and tried to create a song on a GarageBand app on like my brother's iPad. And then when I was sober and I listened to it, it sounded like 50 songs playing all at once, like the Dewey Cox, the movie.
Yes. When you said 50 songs once, instantly that's what I thought.
Billion didgeridoos, more didgeridoos. It was like that. Like I was listening to it like, oh my God. I was like tone deaf.
Honestly, I love that. That's exactly where my mind went when you said like 50 songs at once. I pictured him fucking tripping balls on acid in this giant auditorium with like Aboriginal singers and an orchestra and a band and just be like, more, more.
You know, they say great minds think alike.
And apparently dumbasses too.
Dude, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Zach. Please, man, promote the show, dude.
Oh, well, what can I say? Thank you so much. This is what I love about podcasting. Like, I would have never have met you otherwise. And I've just spent a nice chunk of my afternoon getting to know a solid dude.
You know what that means? I'm an okay guy and I can go kick puppies in the free time.
Hey, as I say, there's a lot of ocean between us. I've got nothing I can do to physically stop you.
And apparently there's dinosaurs in it. I had no clue.
Hey, they say watch the skies, watch the fucking sea. Fried Penguin News is my podcast. You may have heard my my little Texan friend, Reece Williamson, Bebop, promoting it previously. It is Bebop, a improvised comedy news show. Essentially, the news these days is all made up anyway, but they make up depressing stuff. So our podcast, me and Reece Williamson and Simon Bracey, we make fake news. We make the news up just like everyone else. But instead of having all this depressing stuff, ours is about like werewolves and getting pregnant, licking skateboards and anything you can imagine we've done. Like, we generate our headlines one word at a time. So if I was going to go like, I
like
to
run
over.
Why you got to leave me on that one? Tacos.
Exactly. So that's how we generate our headlines, essentially, between the three of us. And then we use those to improvise just utter nonsense.
It's like Mad Libs. I love it.
It's good fun. It's yeah, if you find the news too depressing and you want to know what the T-Rex shopkeeper community is up to, then Fried Penguin News is the podcast for you.
Well, thank you for listening to this episode Out of the Blank podcast, and stay tuned for our next episode.